Guess what today is? Oil change day. Here's a few tools. Multi-grips to take the oil filler cap off. Hex key to take the sump plug out. Extra washers. Socket to get the oil filter cap off and a new oil filter. Screwdriver if needed to get that out. Hammer. While I've got everything apart, I'll go and adjust the do, give the case a bit of a tap. Some oil. See? Got a motorbike on it, so it's good oil. And of course I'm going to make a mess. Now, the first thing we did was check the oil level. This time it had started using a bit of oil. Hardly used any for ages and ages and ages. Then slowly started to use some. So when the oil's breaking down like that, I don't think there's any point in refilling. So it's time to change the oil. Hey, that's tricky. Magnetic drain plug stuck to a bolt. So the big thing, of course, is how much stuff's come off the magnet. Quite a bit. But no more than normal, and no big chunky bits. So I'll give that a clean, take the washer off, throw that away, and put a new one on. New crush washer, and we're ready to go. And while the last of the oil drains out of the sump, I'll take the oil filter off. And that's why I had the screwdriver. There we go. It will dribble oil. Oh, quite a lot. Don't lose this baby. Got to go get a new one if you do. Check the O-ring. It's all good. Wipe off the dirty oil. Small end in. New oil filters, they're all much of a muchness. More important that you do it than stress over which one it is. Here's a pro tip. Every time you order something online, go and order a few more. You just never know when you're going to need them. They're the same both ends. So in it goes. Now here's a trap for young players. Just in there, it's got a little crack. Even though I really try not to over tighten it, I must have one day. Now these, metal, steel, into aluminium. So I put a little bit of anti-seize paste on, so that way I can get them out easily. Copper anti-seize grease. Screw it in, because it's hard to push in straight away. Because it's hard to push in, you've got to screw it in. So to get it in evenly, do a little bit on one side, a little bit on the other, back to the first side, back to the other. Next thing, have a quick look in the oil filter. Had a look at the sump plug. While it looks well used, there's very little in there. Tiny aluminium piece there. Okay, and another. And more. And more. There we go. That's why we have an oil filter. I'm a bit concerned about how many though. So while I've got your attention, thought I'd have a look at what does the book say about how often to change the oil. Kawasaki book. Engine oil. Every year, or at 12,000 kilometres, 24,000, 36, 48. We do have a little hashtag, and that says service more frequently when operating in severe conditions. Dusty, wet, muddy, high speed or frequent start stopping. Well, that's pretty well everything, isn't it? But what do they mean more frequently? Half that time? Yeah, at least. What does Mr. Climber say? 6,000 kilometres? Check, 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 check. What? 12,000 kilometres. Change engine oil, or annually, whichever comes first. And oil filter. 18,000? Check, check, check. 24,000 kilometres. 24,000? Change the engine oil, or annually, whichever comes first. Sorry, no can do. 6,000 max. Clean it. Clean and dry. No filth on it. just until it's tight. Don't go crazy. Plenty of videos out there, people who've stripped those things. That's a bit of a life-changing event. Let's do the do. In there's a rubber cover. Pop that out. And inside is an 8mm. Give that a good loosen. Okay, now that it's loose, tap it a few times with a hammer, not a metal one, just one of these plastic rubbery ones, and that should loosen it up and let the spring do its thing. Don't forget to tighten it though, and by tighten I don't mean tighten, just firm. The book will tell you exactly how tight, but firm's plenty. And make sure the grommet's all clean and there's no oil leaks in there. Important job done. Right, that's enough to get the oil everywhere. And while that sinks back to the bottom, we'll give it a quick once over. Things to look for that you don't normally see. Fork seals. All clean, no dirt sticking to the leaking oil. Good. Vent holes at the back so that dirt doesn't hit the front. There's a pro tip someone gave me years ago. Same on both sides. All clean, no oil. Good. Oil dribbling out of here. That's a common problem. Feel the foot pegs, they're still tight. Chain. Bit dirty, could do with a good cleaning. Chain tension, because it's so dirty. Should just touch the plastic, which is fine, that's all it does. The other check is pull this, see how much it moves. That's it. So while this chain is 20,000+ kilometres, it's still got a bit left to go in it. The big problem the tricky problem I did have once was down in there, the bolt's holding the instrument tower. See the top one? It's now a nut with a spring washer. Yeah, lost the whole thing there. And the other one's original, but that was very, very loose. And that's it for me for lost bolts. Other thing to check, tyres. That all looks good. The nut on this, make sure it's not hard up against the rim, so that if the tube moves, it doesn't pull and break on the stem, because apparently they're not fun to fix. Do the same at the back. Yeah, it was just a twig. And the tyre's looking fine. Of course, have a look. You won't see it on the camera, but check that there's no oil leaks from the rear shocker, and that's all looking fine. Give it a push pull. No noise, no movement, which means all the bearings are good. We like that. While we're here, fluid level's good. Which side? Of course, it's the obvious side. Fluid level's good. And get the bugs out of the way. Fluid level's good. That's it for the special checks. That's it. Oil change done. Quick inspection. Ready to rock and roll. Cheers. I'm back from a little ride. Certainly needed that oil change. Smacked me for leaving it so long. I also did the usual, lubed the controls and cables, did the chain, etc. So, running wonderfully for a beat up old KLR. Things I didn't do, which somebody might pick me up on. When I did the oil filter, Muggins here forgot to put a bit of fresh oil on the O-ring and around the oil filter O-rings, but you know, not the end of the world. And the other thing I forgot, of course, was use the torque wrench. Got a couple of them in there. Anyway, I've done it so many times. Elbows vaguely calibrated, and I just rode for an hour and a half and it hasn't fallen apart. So, all is good. All is good. So, that's the oil change. And that job was brought to you by the Spooky Men's Corral and the album Tooled Up. First album of theirs back in 2004. It starts with their own theme song. What more could you want? Then gets into a couple of classics like Down in the River to Pray, I Can't Get No Satisfaction, Georgia, Ghost Riders in the Sky, even modernish stuff, Not Pretty Enough. Some of their own work, Don't Stand Between a Man and His Tool. Great voices, great characters. Check them out. The Spooky Men's Corral, their first album from 2004, Tooled Up.